Hello, my most amazing second graders. We are going to start our new project today, and I'm going to kind of do you guys a little different than how we're doing things in class. I'm going to give you just one post a week because sometimes we do a lot in the two classes we see, and I don't want you guys to get overwhelmed. So if you talk to your friends in school, they might be doing something slightly different than you are, and that's okay. You're going to be a little bit behind them, but that's going to be absolutely okay. You'll catch up when we do arty parties and things like that. So we are starting a new project this week for you guys. We're learning about the artist Chris Uphues, and he's an amazing muralist. He's a street artist, and we talked about a little bit about him in class. I posted a video of an interview he did with another art teacher of mine, friend of mine, describing kind of his process. It's really quick. He does great murals, and he does fun, bright, happy things. And I thought, since it's really close to Valentine's Day, what a great fun activity to do some personality on some hearts. So you'll need, there's going to be attached to the lesson a handout. I printed it double-sided for class. You don't have to print this out. You can just put it all up on your computer and just look at it because this is inspiration kind of a guide. If you don't need this, you don't have to print this. You'll need a bigger piece of paper. This is 10 by 14. Something a little bit thicker than printer paper because we're going to do a lot with water with this. And then you might want just a scratch piece of paper, or if you have a dry erase board, that would be perfect because we're going to practice some hearts first, and then when you feel comfortable, you'll move to your final paper. Then you'll need a Sharpie and a pencil, and that'll be enough for day one. And then day two will be a separate video, but it's still due at the same time. I just want you to maybe watch day one on one day and day two on another, or over the weekend, however you want to do it. And then you'll need markers and your watercolor sets and things for that for day two. So if you need any of this stuff, let me know. I know I don't usually leave a lot of paper in the office for you guys because drawing paper seems to be pretty easy to come by. If you would like me to start leaving you some just paper to pick up, I absolutely am happy to do that. Just let me know. Okay, so we are going to get out some practice paper. If you have a dry erase board, this would be perfect for that. And we're going to practice drawing hearts. I couldn't find my dry erase board, so I'm doing paper. Hearts are pretty easy. I think we've drawn them when we did our love monster in kindergarten, and I think we did them a little bit last year in first grade. But just in case you don't remember, a heart can be pretty easy. You can just make a sad face, then a diagonal line, and a diagonal line. And you can do it that simple. And if you don't like how they have these points here, you can soften that too. So I'm going to do that one more time for you. I did a sad face, and I connected another sad face to it. And I'm going to bring this down to a diagonal and make this one meet it. And that's an easy way to do a heart. Or if you just know how to do it by drawing that shape by yourself, you can do that too. So what I challenge you to do is to create a variety of sizes of hearts. So if you're on a dry erase board or the scrap paper, I want you to just practice getting comfortable making small hearts, medium hearts, big hearts, maybe tall, skinny hearts. All right, or maybe really wide, fat hearts. Whatever you like is fine, but we want to kind of do a variety. And if your hearts aren't equal like mine just was, that's okay too. So once you're comfortable making your hearts, we got to talk about composition. And we're going to have our paper go horizontal for this project. So composition is the way something is laid out. If you want an interesting composition, you wouldn't have all your hearts in a straight line. That's not interesting to look at as the viewer. You kind of want to mix up your hearts and kind of sprinkle them over the paper, have different sizes, make it interesting and fill your space. Like the composition of this is really interesting instead if it was just like hearts on a page. Now this is an okay composition, except I have a lot of blank space up here. So to make this a better composition, I'd want to add some more hearts. Now the one thing I want to warn you about is don't make your hearts too small, because in every heart, you're going to add a face. So if you make teeny tiny hearts, like some friends were making hearts really small, by the time you draw that face in there, you won't be able to outline and you won't be able to do our marker trick. So I encourage you to do bigger and medium hearts, large and medium hearts. All right. So play around with that, and once you kind of get a composition that you like, I want you to take this practice sheet and kind of practice making some eyes and mouths on your hearts. So we challenged everybody to have at least 5 hearts. You can have more, but you need at least 5 in your composition. Once you have that composition done, you have to add a different face in every heart. And a different face means I can't use the same combination. So if I used this face with this eyes and this mouth, I can't use the same 2 things again. I can use these eyes again with maybe this mouth, or I can use this mouth with these eyes. So I want it to be unique to your hearts. If you don't like any of these ideas, you're more than welcome to come up with your own. So you're just gonna practice and see which faces you really like. I like the little nose. If you don't want to put noses, you don't have to. So you can make your eyes any way you like. Kind of get the way you like it and kind of practice. So we did a lot of practice on our dry erase board. And once people are like, okay, this is my layout. I'm going to use these faces. I've practiced some faces. I'm good. Then you get out your big paper and you take your composition you did here and you put it over here. And now the bigger paper is going to be different. So the first thing you'll do is start drawing those hearts. So I'm just going to draw a couple. You want to draw at least 5, and you want them bigger than smaller, so we have time and space to do our different ones. And I don't want to line them up in a row. I don't think that's really interesting. Maybe I'll do a really big one down here and a really big one over here. And I know it's not the same size, and I don't love that. So all I have to do is bring this down and erase what I didn't like. So it's okay to make mistakes even on your final paper. So I'm going to go ahead and keep drawing my composition, and once I'm done, I'll come back and I'll show you the next step. So draw your hearts in your composition, and then start putting on faces, and I'll be back in 1 minute. Okay, so I drew out my composition, not my competition. I laid out my hearts. I'm pretty happy with it. I decided I want one to overlap because I like the way that looked, because I looked at this idea sheet and I was like, oh, I like the overlapping. So if you want to add some overlapping friends, you can do that. And then I went ahead and just sketched in some faces. So you'll notice I used the same mouth a couple times, but I didn't use the same combination. So eyes and mouth have to be different in everything. So if I use the same eyes, it's similar, but the mouth will be different then. So once you have it all sketched out the way you like it, you're going to outline it in Sharpie. So when you outline in Sharpie, you want to take your time. Be careful. If you don't like something, you can always fix it in the Sharpie. After you Sharpie, like we always do, I want you to go back and erase any pencil lines that you might see. If you drew teeny tiny faces, using your Sharpie might be hard. But be very careful going on that tippy point, okay? Make sure if you're coloring in your stuff, you're being careful. So my small ones, it kind of fills in more than I like, but it is what it is. So you don't want to go too small. Also, the only thing you want to color in with your Sharpie is any like open mouth that you might want black, or the inside eyes of the pupils. So I want to have the inside of my mouth kind of dark. So I'm just going to use my Sharpie to color that in, and I'll color in my pupils too. But everything else I want you to keep just pretty simple in black and white. Okay, so we'll just say if you want to add eyelashes, great. If you don't have to. Same with noses. Just do your best. We're going to work on craftsmanship, which means we're taking our time and taking pride in our work. So then Sharpie. Make sure you're doing nice and clean, going slow. All right, color in those pupils if you have them, color in your mouth, and then you're done with day 1. Day 1 ends when you get your composition drawn out, you've sketched in all your details and outlined everything in Sharpie. Day 2 is when we'll need markers, Crayola markers or Target brand markers, some kind of marker that's like a washable marker. And then you'll need your watercolor paint. So I will see you on day 2. All right, hello my most amazing artists. Welcome to day 2 of your project. Now you might be watching this all together, or you might be doing 2 separate days, but this is what we're gonna do on day 2 in class. We have our hearts all outlined in Sharpie. We erased any pencil lines, and now we have markers, and we're ready to go. You're allowed to use any color marker you have except for gray and black. We want nice, lots of color. So yes, these are hearts, but they don't have to be red and pink. If you want your hearts to be greens and oranges and blues, that's fine. We're gonna just be doing something a little bit different with these markers, kind of like we did the singing portrait. We're not really coloring in, we're just kind of gonna outline and paint. You'll see in a minute. So I am gonna choose some traditional colors, but they don't all have to be. You want a different color in each heart, all right? So since it is Valentine's Day-ish, I'm gonna get my red marker. And we talked about with your singing portrait when we use the side of our marker to make a thick line. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go around our border and do a nice thick line staying inside of that black line as best we can. And you're gonna do that for all your little hearts. So try to stay inside your black Sharpie, go slow, and really pay attention. So I have the tip of my marker right on the border, and then I can always go back in and kind of fix it. So that one's done. So I'm done with the red. I'm gonna put it back in my box so it doesn't roll over me. Let's see, what do I wanna put next to red? Maybe I wanna put some purple over here. So I'm gonna put my tip of my marker at the black border. If you need to turn your paper. That would probably be easier than trying to go around in different contortions, but I'm a little stubborn. So you kind of get the idea. Go ahead and try to do it as even as you can. Go around each heart with a different color and make a border or a frame inside of it, and I will meet you back here when I'm done. Okay, so you can see I went ahead and I did all my borders, and I can see it looking at now, this border isn't as thick as this side, but I'm okay. So I use a different color in every heart. If you have so many hearts and you don't have that many markers, just try your best, because I know some friends did like 20 hearts and we only have 10 colors in our box. So you might have to repeat hearts if you have more, or repeat colors if you have more hearts than you do marker colors. All right, so for this step, you'll need your green paintbrush, a cup of water, and then a little bit you're gonna need your watercolor set. So just like when we did our singing portraits, we're gonna paint with our markers, but instead of like kind of making it go everywhere, we wanna keep it inside our hearts. If you don't want your paint to get in your little eyes, you're gonna have to be careful controlling where that marker goes. So I'm gonna start over here because this one overlaps, and I wanna paint this one, and I'll do this one last, so by the time this one dries, I can paint this one without them bleeding, if that makes sense. So just like we did with our singing portrait, we're gonna get our paintbrush really wet. You're gonna paint right on top of the marker and wake it up, and then bring that color out. Remember, this uses quite a bit of water, so wake up that marker with your paint, or wake up that marker with your paintbrush. And then what we're doing is we're just kind of softening it so it's darker at the edges and lighter on the inside. And it's just a really cool effect that I really like, and something a little different than always painting with paint sets. So I'm just going around and waking it up, and I'm going to bring that color down so it gets lighter as it goes to the middle. I don't want it to go inside my mouth. I want to keep my tongue, I think I want to keep my tongue white. Or not. No, I'm going to paint it. I'm going to let the tongue be pink too. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so that one's done. And it kind of just fades out a little bit, and I really like that. If you want it to be more fadey, you can try and add more water and loosen it, but you run the risk of possibly ripping your paper. So rinse your paintbrush really good, and then go to your next color. I'm going to let this dry a little bit before we get this one. So I'm going to come up to my green. I'm going to wet the border. And then I'm going to let that border kind of wake up. I'm really trying to keep the paint inside my heart. I'm going to go ahead and paint all of it. I'm not going to worry about keeping that little tiny bits white. I think that looks cute. Okay. So I'm going to just keep going. Wake up the border color. And then kind of paint the inside. Okay, and then if it gets darker than you want, you can always blot it with a paper towel, but I kind of like it. really want to get the blue because I don't want to put blue with my red. If your water gets really dirty, which it shouldn't, you might want to switch out your watercolor if your water's like blue or red and you're trying to paint yellow, because we don't want your yellow to get yucky. One nice clean colors, but I didn't use yellow. Yellow is not one of Mrs. Cole's favorite colors, so I didn't use it. All right, good. All right, so you kind of get the picture of this. I'm going to go ahead and finish these two, and I'm going to tell you what we're going to do next. All right, so all my hearts are painted, and I love this. I love this trick. It's like one of my favorite things we're doing right now is that border, and it softens with the paint, and it makes it look like you had to spend a lot of time with it, and you really didn't. It's just marker and water, and I love, love, love that. So it's not, your friend said it was fake paint. It's still paint, but we're also going to use our watercolor sets too. So we're going to kind of break the background or the white paper into sections. And what I mean by that is I'm going to consider this area a section, and maybe in between here a section, and you'll figure it out in your composition. So we're just going to be painting in dots. I don't want you painting the whole background. I want to keep it more fun and festive. So you get your paintbrush pretty wet. I have a red heart here. I don't want to put red on this side, so I'm going to kind of do the opposite. I'm going to do like, let's do green over there. So I'm going to get some paint on my paintbrush, and I'm just going to start dotting and getting more paint when I need it, some green in this section. And I'm going to decide this section goes all the way up here. And I can make big dots, or I can make small dots. If you want them darker, get more paint. But you just kind of want to put them all random. All right, that's one. So now I'm going to pick a different color to put with the green. And I think I'm going to get some yellow because I don't have any yellow on this picture. And I'm going to add some yellow dots. And if they overlap a little, that's okay. We still want to see the white paper coming through, but I want you to just kind of have fun with it. It's like when we did our pigeons in kindergarten, we do a confetti pigeon party, and we did that confetti in the background. So we're not painting, we're just adding some interest and some texture, and just be careful that you don't paint over your heart like I just did a little bit, but that's okay. So get it the way you like it. All right, I kind of really like that. So I'm going to rinse my paintbrush. I'm going to pick another color. I'm going to come to this side. So I want to do the opposite side so this can dry a little bit. So I come to the middle. It's not going to be all gross. Let's see. Over here I have green and pink. Let's see. I'm going to put some purple over here. So I'm going to tickle up some purple. I'm just going to dot some purple. And watch that you don't go too fast to get splatters like Mrs. Cole was getting. So I'm just dotting. This doesn't have to take a long time, but you don't want to go so fast it gets kind of messy. Okay, so I think I'm going to break this in just a couple sections. I'm going to leave, I'll do right here too. All right, now for my second color, I think I'm going to do red. You kind of want to pick colors that if they mix together by accident, they would look okay. And red and purple, if they mix together, would get like that red purple, and that's really nice. So I don't have to worry about that. I wouldn't want to put purple with yellow, because if it mixed, it would make like a grayish green color, and we don't want that. So I'm just kind of mixing it up. And I do have pink over here, so I want to make sure that my red looks red and not too light. Like I wouldn't put a magenta next to my pink, because we want to kind of give some visual interest and some contrast using those principles of design and elements of art. So I'm liking the way that looks. I'm going to do one more different section in the middle. I decided to do 3. If you want to do more sections than that, that's fine. Let's see. I've done green. Let's do, well, I did orange in here, but I think I'm going to do orange. No. That's so many choices, guys. All right, I think I'm going to do turquoise. It's a little bit lighter than this blue, and that's okay. I probably should have put blue over here instead of in the middle, but I was running out of colors to use. It is what it is. I like the blue next to the orange. So maybe I'll go ahead and just put orange with this too. Normally I wouldn't mix blue with orange because it makes different color, but I want to kind of contrast a little bit. All right, so I'm going to rinse my paintbrush really good, and I'm going to go ahead and get some orange. So I'm kind of breaking my own rule, right, guys? I said you don't want to mix colors that don't mix pretty together, and you don't want to put the same color near it, but I think this is working. put more orange down here closer to the blue. You'll just figure it out. So just when you create your sections, put 1 or 2 colors. So it kind of looks like confetti when you're done. I think that looks good. I rinsed out my brush and voila, that's it. Love it. I think this looks great. This is our Chris Uphues inspired painting. Let this stay flat for a little bit and let this dry. You'll want to leave your paint set open a little bit too to let it dry before you close it. Take a picture when you're done, upload it, and you are done for this week. And if I don't see you before then, happy Valentine's Day, guys. I'll see you later. Goodbye, my most amazing artist.